Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today, oh my goodness, we're talking about Handel's Coronation Anthems. These are so much fun. Oh my goodness, beautiful, wonderful pieces. There are four of them. Evidently, they occasioned a certain amount of controversy back in the day, in 1740 whatever Handel wrote them. I mean, they are the epitome of fabulous ceremonial music, and they've been used in every English coronation in the past, since then. So it's been almost 300 years, which goes to show just how durable these little suckers are. The best, or the most best known, let's put it that way, is the first one, Zadok the priest. The words are kind of meaningless. And, you get to the God save the king, long live the king, and all that stuff, and we get it. And you change it to queen as necessary. But, wow, what fabulous music. In fact, when I was in high school, and we were doing these things, we of the Trekkie generation adjusted the words of Zadok the priest instead of, for... And you say, Zadok the priest, and the prophet, whatever it is, and all that stuff. And we changed it to, hey, Spock, look east, for lo, the Klingons cometh. We figured we could use it as the official anthem of our local Star Trek convention. Unfortunately, it didn't take off because they didn't have the performing forces to do it justice. Actually, Handel didn't have the performing forces to do it justice. Evidently, at the first tryout for these things, there were contemporary notices indicate that everybody got lost and the whole thing got screwed up, and it's just very, very amusing. In those days, we would have been horrified because, it would have been televised and it would have been a national embarrassment. But in those days, your national embarrassment stayed local. It's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, what happened in Westminster Abbey stayed in Westminster Abbey. And so the complete disaster of the music with the initial performance of the Coronation Anthems was, just things that people put up with because of the nature of the beast. It was like the first performance of the fireworks music where, the stage blew up and someone burned to death. And it's all in a day's work, in other words. So there are many recordings of the Coronation Anthems, but the one I have chosen as one of the greatest recordings ever is this one. Robert King with the King's Consort on Hyperion. And oh my goodness, is this glorious. They are magnificently done with a huge orchestra of period instruments, fabulously well recorded. It's the choir of New College, Oxford, the King's Consort. And so you've got Edward Higgenbottom. You got a big choir. It's not just, three or four little, tight-assed countertenors doing their moaning and wheezing. No, it's a really big chorus of wonderful singers, or relatively large chorus. And you get the fireworks music in its original scoring as well. Because we just talked about the fireworks music. We talked about the Macaris recording of the original scoring, but it was on modern instruments and done in the 50s. And there have been quite a few versions on period instruments since then. But one of the things that I pointed out when talking about the fireworks music, at least, is that the more oboes and bassoons and things you get, the warmer and more diffuse it actually sounds. And this is particularly true on period instruments, and that presents a problem. It really does. The problem is that when you want to hear the original ensemble for gobs and gobs of brass and percussion and drums and things, you don't want it to sound more diffuse. You want it to sound big and brilliant. And so you have to have both. You want to have the sound, the tangy sound of period instruments, but you also want to have the grandeur, the Handelian grandeur, and nobody did grandeur like Handel did grandeur. Let's face it. I mean, he really did. So this performance of the fireworks music has that. It's big, but it's also periody somehow. It's quite wonderful. But we're talking about the Coronation Anthem. So there are four of them. Zadok the priest is the biggie. It's short. It's only like 5 minutes long, and it begins with this minimalist accompaniment that just builds and builds and builds till the chorus comes like flying in. It's amazing. Then we have My Heart is Inditing, The King Shall Rejoice, and Let Thy Hand Be Strengthened. And, the longest one of these things is like 11 minutes. That's My Heart is Inditing. They're 10 minutes, 7 minutes. They're brief, which is wonderful if you're sort of just getting into Handelian choral music or choral music from the Baroque period, and you don't have the patience to sit through 2 hours of the B minor Mass or 3 hours of a Passion setting or something like that. You can start with these. They give you all the stuff you need in a nice, handy, compact little package, stunningly recorded. And oh my God, this is just one of the great records. For me, anyway. And with the fireworks music attached to it, it's amazing. So, if you want one of the greatest recordings ever, I suggest you give this a shot. You will not be sorry. I guarantee it. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.